Closing speeches will be 2 minutes. We will let each candidate know when they have 30 seconds left so that they may wind up their answer. The candidates are Wayne Bernard, Tammy Bramall, John Higgins, Joseph Leahy, Richard Smith, and Ron Wallace. Wayne, if you would start, we would appreciate it.
Good afternoon, all. These are certainly new and different times, so bear with us. This is our first time at this kind of streaming thing. And thank you all for your interest and participation. The COVID-19 pandemic has changed the world. Conditions are worse now than when we began shutting down in mid-March. Again, there are tough decisions to be made. The experience and head start this board has in controlling the danger lurking at our doors is comforting. But make no mistake, there are those who greatly underestimate the consequences of failing to act quickly and decisively when needed. Instead, they defer to the "we are not children, we are adults" mantra. Well over 5,000 Floridians and 140,000 Americans who died, mostly adults, our age group among the hardest hit, accounting for 25% of the cases. We live in a wonderful country, a democracy governed on the federal, state, and local levels by officials elected lines that change. We will be able to maintain the status quo here for the foreseeable future. We do not intend at this point to pull back on either the hours or the amenities that are open. We have cameras. Documents that rest the decision-making responsibility squarely on the shoulders of your elected board. An effective board member must be thoroughly versed in the details contained in those documents. As the incumbent president of the association, I am immensely proud to have served and proud of the accomplishment the board has made over the past 2 years. One of the most important decisions we made was to implement the building of substantial contingency funds over the past several years, allowing us to fund extra expenses necessary to change landscape companies and to offset other unanticipated expenses. I do not stand before you to take credit personally for these accomplishments. I am one of 5 board members who together have worked tirelessly on your behalf. We have tackled large expenditures for roads, lakes, irrigation, court resurfacing, villa painting, and roof treatments. Most of these projects are already in the works or recently completed. I also realize that there have been a few missteps, shortcomings, and disappointments. We have acknowledged those and adjusted to correct them. Have we succeeded 100% of the time? No, but we have given it an honest effort on your behalf. I would be remiss if I did not personally thank our staff for the tremendous amount of hard work, dedication, and loyalty they have exhibited. It would have been impossible to safely begin and monitor a reopening plan without them. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you very much for everything.
All right, we have received many questions from residents. The first one is, the president indicated last night that COVID-19 will probably get worse. If the governor declares another stay-at-home, would you vote to close down all amenities? Just yes or no. Tammy?
To close the whole state down again? Everything except the swimming pools, I think they would still be safe, and possibly the pickleball, the outside environment, I think would be fine.
Let's try to keep it to a yes or no, please. Wayne?
Sorry.
If the governor shuts the whole state down, I would vote to shut the amenities down again.
Ron?
I agree with Wayne.
Rich?
I think we should follow the CDC guidelines and act accordingly.
John?
I would shut everything down.
Joe?
I agree with Tammy. Indoor, yes. Outside, no.
Thank you. Rich, this question is for you. You criticized the board for imposing restrictions to mitigate the effect of the COVID virus, saying that the residents own the facilities and the amenities. Isn't that a distortion of the facts? The HOA owns the common areas, including the clubhouse and the pools. Our governing documents clearly state that a lot owner only owns their lot, and by virtue of that is a whole member owner. The homeowners association, which legally owns the common areas and is governed by the elected board of directors. Why do you want to be on the board that you apply doesn't have the authority to manage the community?
First of all, I disagree with some of the question, what is stated in the question. I did write an article, which was posted online, when the early restrictions were imposed by the board. The board acted quickly, decisively, and many of the people in the community did not agree with the widespread restrictions that were imposed. They were not consistent with what the governor of the state nor the CDC had recommended, to wit, the closing of the pools, the closing of the gym. Evidence has shown, after the fact, that these amenities were able to be used safely. And I agree, outdoor activities should not be curtailed unless we are directed to do so by authorities outside of our community in governmental agencies. Thank you.
Tammy, your introduction, please.
Hello, Southshore Falls residents. For those of you who may not know me, my name is Tammy Bramble, and I live at 189 Shell Falls Drive. My husband Carl and I have been a Southshore Falls homeowner since 2008, then moved here permanently in 2015. Before I share my why as to why I would like to be on your board of directors, let me first say I wish you could be here in person this afternoon. However, since you are not able to, I hope you find this meet and greet to be informative so that you can make an informed decision about your next board of directors. Although our community has been in a partial shutdown since March, my primary vision and goal of being on your board of directors has not changed. Bringing Southshore Falls back to being the premier 55-plus community it was in the beginning by listening to you, the true voice of this community, is where we will start to make that happen, and I have a plan. I am passionate about what is best for this community as much as the residents, because you see, what happens in this community, the appearance of this community, how it is managed, and how the residents are treated is important to me. I am a regular attendee to the board workshop meetings and stay informed on this community is important to me. I'm attentive to the needs of the community and do my best to address not only my concerns, but the concerns of others that are shared by others with me. Letting my voice be heard so I can make a difference that will benefit our community in a positive manner is important to me. Many of you have seen me on my daily walks throughout the community, and this has given me the opportunity to stay connected with the Southshore Falls community while in shutdown. Meeting many new neighbors along the way, you are sharing with me your concerns, pros and cons, and wish to have your voice heard. So let's make that happen. I'm here to help however I can. I am a proactive person, and if I don't know the answer, I will certainly do the research to find the solution. I have been a regular attendee to our lifestyle events held here at the clubhouse as I love to socialize. Although we have been forced to live a new normal due to the COVID-19 virus, I'm hopeful that we will have a plan to socialize again soon. It's time to be creative within our community and our clubs so that we all can enjoy the wonderful amenities that we will have, remaining safe and healthy as well. Although we are hesitant to go outside the community except for necessities, wouldn't it be nice to lift some of the stress occasionally and realize at a distance we are safe at home while still socializing?
Joe, this question is for you. How much would you budget and increase the HOA dues to make physical improvements, asset care, cleaning, and improvements?
I don't think without knowing what specific assets we wanted to improve, that question can't be answered. I am very pro to make sure the funds protect the maintenance of the community and the growth of the community with the assets as well as the people who live here.
Does anybody else wish to comment on that question? Okay, this one is for everyone. What information would you communicate to residents to improve transparency? And we'll start with Ms. Wallace.
I think that we need to have a more regular stream of messages coming out from the management office to explain the things that are going on. It is probably true that things have not been sent out perhaps as regularly as they ought to have been in the past, but that's where the messages should all come from, as our management office, and it's up to our manager to provide that information as soon as it's available.
Thank you. Rich?
This is really part of my introductory speech, but I'll give it now. I think the area that we must improve on is communications. Now, we have all of this new fancy equipment. We're now live streaming, but it's very passive in that we don't engage the residents. Now, I understand the limitations that we're facing because of the virus. However, there are other technologies that we can utilize to encourage active participation. For example, we can have Zoom presentations where people can not just submit their questions in writing, but they can actually speak to the community and be heard. And I think that's something that we should consider.
Thank you. John?
I think there's a considerable amount of communication that goes out. I'm not so sure that it's well read and well received. I think there are a lot of other things that can be done, as Rich says, but I think we all have to agree that everything that we add costs money. There has to be a balance between how much people are willing to pay for information versus how much information they need or are willing to accept.
Thank you. Wayne?
I think transparency has a lot to do with communication. I think the workshop process that we've developed over the last few years and the change in the demeanor and the back and forth of the board meetings has gone a long, long way to make transparency one of the keynotes of what we're trying to do. Are we perfect at it? No. Could we zoom it? Don't let me get to the controls of that. Thank you.
Tammy?
I think there is a lack of communication and that there can be communication and improvement. And when it comes directly from whether it's the board of directors or it's from the property manager, that deters a lot of misinformation out in the community that gets a lot of discussions start that may not be true or just need clarification. So I think on a daily basis, if there is something going on that needs to be communicated to the community, they deserve to know that.
Thank you. Joe?
I think communication is a two-way street. I personally think that our communication methods right now are appropriate, but definitely in need of growth, specifically technology. However, our residents have to get up and running on our website. And we have to get up and running on many different more methods to communicate. As far as transparency specifically, I agree with Wayne, the board workshop is the best place for that to happen.
Thank you. John, your introduction, please.
Thank you. One of the purposes of this meeting is for you to make decisions as to the differences between candidates and who you would prefer to be on the board. So I decided with my 3 minutes that I was going to tell you a story that happened to me personally this year and that I think gives us a great deal of insight into the candidates that we're dealing with. Several months ago, a group of residents addressed me and asked if I would help them create a proposal to present to the board. The idea was a request for a dog park. I told them I'd be more than happy to help them create a proposal, not because I wanted a dog park, but because they were acting in good faith and they deserved to be heard. The dog park immediately became a target for criticism and ridicule from a small group whose leader determined before any proposal was made or even discussed that it was not a good idea and fought it vigorously. A meeting was scheduled for the purpose of beginning to discuss how, when, why, and where, and all of the other things about this proposal. They would suggest to the board. No such discussion, decision, or analysis had preceded this meeting. It was purely a fact-finding event to help support and provide information determining the procedure. This person showed up at the meeting with a small cadre of followers. It became obvious immediately that the purpose was to destroy the meeting. They did a very good job. Objections, rude remarks, inane questions, and general interruptions followed and escalated with threats and physical violence. The other people sat there in disbelief and finally horror. It was for many, and particularly for me, the lowest point of my otherwise wonderful love affair with Southshore Falls. Now many of you know the story, or at least part of it, so why do I bring it up now? This story has nothing to do with the dog park. That may or may not ever happen, but it has everything to do with the purpose we have today. That story shines a bright light on the decisions you will be making in the next few days. An idea presented in good faith by a group of well-meaning residents was destroyed without a hearing or even a proposal. Why? Because that person running for this board on a platform of listening and relating to residents didn't like it. In other words, I don't like it, so you can't have it. Imagine that you are the next resident to have an idea to improve Southshore Falls. Would you be treated any better? The two people running for the board participated in that meeting and in the destruction of those residents' ideas. I can assure you that no current board member would have dismissed these residents in such a callous and insulting way. And there lies the difference. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Before the Pulte settlement, the board presented a list of property deficiencies to the mediator. Should these deficiencies receive priority spending treatment from settlement funds? Please answer yes or no. No filibustering about the terms of the settlement. John, let's start with you.
I believe that the proper way to determine how that money is spent and on what projects it is used is simply the priority of each project. The priority of a list of shortcomings that was created years ago is certainly not the same priority that this community needs today. So I believe that the board should be free to determine that priority and act accordingly.
Thank you. Wayne?
I think that in general, the deficiencies that were part of the lawsuit, the major ones like the roads and the lake, the irrigation, that stuff, I think it's certainly proper, that is where we get started. So my answer is yes.
Ron?
I think my answer is yes, but it's really very difficult to give a yes or no answer to that question, but I'll leave it at a yes.
Thank you. Tammy?
Yes.
And Richard?
Yes.
Who did I miss? Joe?
Yes.
Very good. Next question. Do you believe board members should serve to set policy and advise, oversee the management company, or do you believe the board should actively participate in hiring contractors and consultants for such things as pond management, pool maintenance, bocce ball court reconstruction, website design, front gate maintenance, security, and so forth?
Can you read that again?
Mhm. That was a lot.
Do you believe that board members should serve to set policy and advise, oversee the management company? Or do you believe the board should actively participate in hiring contractors and consultants for such things as pond management, pool maintenance, bocce ball court reconstruction, website design, front gate maintenance, security, and whatever?
Who's the two?
Ron?
Both.
Wayne?
I agree, it's a team effort, the management company and the board have to work together.
Tammy?
I agree with that.
Joe?
I would have to say that I agree with working together.
John?
Not only do I agree that the board has to work with the management company, which we do on virtually a daily basis, but in many cases, we have also worked with residents who have particular information and experience with certain aspects that we're dealing with, such as the recent paving program and a couple of other instances of parks, or ponds rather, and our water fountain. So it's not only a combination of the board and the management company working together, it also has to have the community added into that mix.
Thank you. Rich?
I agree.
Okay.
Joe, could we have your introduction, please?
Yes, hello everyone. My name is Joe Leahy, and I want you to know that I lived here in 2008 on Hidden Falls Drive and moved back permanently in 2014 because I felt the community got even better with all the added amenities, additional homes, and the beautiful landscaping. My involvement in the community on different committees has allowed me to see firsthand the issues, whether they be real or emotional, the HOA boards have had to handle professionally and deal with, and still do. Our committees can handle some of these issues in conjunction with and on behalf of the board by thoroughly reviewing contracts, guidelines, and procedures, and provide explanations or answers for some of the many concerns the residents may have. That can only happen if people step up and volunteer on these very, very important committees. As long as residents view, read, or attend meetings, I think we can improve our communication quality by making it more interactive and resident-friendly. The board workshops are designed to have open conversation with us, but some may feel intimidated and not speak up. I would propose a direct communication link on the website that would go to all members of the board at the same time, as opposed to individual emails and personal conversations, which often fall to the wayside and are forgotten. We also have to explore new ways to update, edit, and easily navigate our website for residents who struggle knowing the ins and outs of how helpful it can be. Communication is critical and a two-way process. I believe the community is doing its best to offer ample communication with obvious additional communication methods available. I agree that sometimes it is not timely, but not attending or viewing meetings, not reading the scoop, not reading emails and notices sent out to you is your voluntary pathway to not knowing what is going on. I want to talk about the Castle Group. There's a major undercurrent in the community with regard to the castle management group. Castle defines its management standards as ensuring a focus and dedication to providing what they call royal service. If elected, I want to work with Castle closely to develop this relationship further. Usually very direct and not one to rock the boat, as it does not need rocking in my viewpoint. Our community is top-notch in its category. I agree, however, to be open to change, creative solutions, and solve our problems. Please remember, the board member is not a job to win a personality contest, but to work for the residents.
I believe that's your time, sir. I apologize. We were having a mic issue on this other one. So she did not say that it was your time.
Okay, thank you so much. Have a happy day, Louise.
Yeah, I apologize. We're having what we're seeing in the live stream, just to let you know, the microphones are bouncing on each other, so you're getting very echoey effect. So I came in between questions to clean it up, and I just had to turn both of you down because they're not getting it up.
I'm hurt. They can't go off, now I'm hurt.
I think you guys are good.
Didn't get anything, or they cut me off? Oh, well.
Yeah, me.
Technology.
We're on a commercial break. If you wouldn't mind just, you say test.
Testing, 1, 2, 3.
Testing, 1, 2, 3.
That sounds good. I apologize for the interruption. So for the next end of the time, please, if you could just direct towards this microphone at the beginning of time. Sorry for the interruption. Thank you.
Thanks, Corey.
Okay, the next question is, what specific prioritized community improvement projects do you think the board should undertake during the next year? And let's begin with Tammy.
I think the clubhouse itself could use some updates. There's draperies out in the library and in the lobby area that are in desperate need of replacing. The outdoor patio furniture underneath the canopy right outside the art and crafts room, that is in bad condition. Some of the lawn furniture at the pools and things, those need to be, I mean, I know they just replaced umbrellas and such, but there could be more of the little tables by them and possibly some new lounge chairs out there. I think those are some of the upgrades for in here. The roads are being addressed till the next step, and the irrigation is being addressed till the next step, and so I think that would be my next focus, as well as communication and technology, so that we would have a better system there.
Thank you. Wayne?
The pool furniture, the lobby furniture, and the clubhouse furniture, those are all reserve items, and, you know, they do need attention from time to time. And certainly, in the budgeting process, we have made enough funds to do those kind of things. I think bigger projects, the lakes, and continuing the goal of upgrading the landscaping throughout the community would be tops on the priority list. But it all comes down to budget.
Rich?
Wayne just stole my answer, but I'm going to repeat it and elaborate on it. I think that although we may be somewhat over budget, at least that's what I understand on our landscaping, the homeowners seem to be the last ones to get taken care of. I know the common areas are always addressed. However, I really believe that the residents are entitled to have their individual property livened up a little bit. So if we need to spend some money, I think we should find the money to do that. Thank you.
John?
I don't think the community has looked as good as it does for several years as it does now. And I think that's because there's been a continuing effort to upgrade different parts of the community as it becomes necessary. As some of you may remember, I was the one that championed the idea of creating a contingency fund several years ago so that we would have extra money for the types of things that were unexpected and not included in our in our normal budget process. That right now is helping us a great deal. And I think that that's the proper way to go about it. Hit each, it's too self-serving to say, this particular project needs help, or this particular project needs help. We take projects, and I know Jason agrees with us, we take projects as the need arises. You know, there could be a project, there could be something in the community that looks perfectly good right now, next week could be a big problem. So trying to set those things up in a strict priority process is very difficult. Fix it as it comes within the budget.
I think just answer to your concern, it's not the right approach to take to make a list of things that need to be done. As we've all learned in the last few months with what's been going on with COVID-19, we have an idea what tomorrow is doing and what things will need to be done in the community. How many areas we have, how many walls within the pond, or whatever it is. And we only have a certain amount of money that we can spend. And that money should be spent in the areas that the community as a whole needs to retain the value of the property. And that's what we've been doing. And then if a chair needs replacing here or a chair needs replacing there, when the time comes, as Wayne said, it comes from the reserves, and we can do those things whenever they need to be done. But we have to look at what needs to be done to maintain the value of the community and everybody's individual properties. And I believe that that's what we've been doing for the last 5 years since I've been involved.
I believe that anything, and specifically those items that contribute to the value of the home and the appearance of the property, is where the priority should be. For example, I do not live on the pond, but the ponds are one of the most valuable assets in this community, as they are the basis for a lot of the beauty we see. Number two, the outside landscaping of the clubhouse is in dire need. We've talked many, many years about it, and we've made some great inroads. But I think that is also a priority. The third priority that I have is the maintenance and the upkeep of all of the physical assets, so they are always appealing and look good to anyone who views the property. As Ron pointed out, minor things do happen and monies have to be discussed to take care of those issues. That obviously is a decision that the board has to make. But I believe the priorities of the community, which increase the property values, are where we should focus.
Can I comment on that also? Because I did overlook the pond status, because I know that they were just worked on, supposedly pond 7, I believe. They've done the best they can at this point, but those certainly are not, as far as I'm concerned, to a completion of the project. And the residents' landscaping that needs to be done, needs to be addressed too within the budget.
How would you handle communicating with residents the changing of house rules that apparently recently got changed in advance without notice to the residents? And let's start with Rich.
That's a good one. I don't know exactly what they're asking in that question. I think that everything that was passed by the board was done as a result of a vote. And I think that the person may be alluding to the update of the ARC guidelines or the guidelines in a March meeting. And again, I'm only guessing or trying to surmise where this question is going. But people were duly noticed. And I'll have to say that, that people who are upset with changes, the board has the right to make changes. And we have a right as residents to voice our opinion about those changes. But the board still has the final say.
Thank you.
I want to answer on a resident's behalf. As a resident, rather than a candidate, I am not aware of any rule that has been changed in this community without notification either by board workshop or board meeting or written notice. A lot of us deal with, please put something in writing. Insofar as the announcement of a change, the board has spoken and will continue to speak and let everybody know as it occurs.
This seems like this, I agree with Rich and Joe. This circles back to the ARC guidelines. It was gone over page by page, paragraph by paragraph, in multiple workshops and voted on at a board meeting. So, thank you for stepping up.
I think we have to really look at communications, Carol, from a standpoint of how much is too much and how much is too little. I think we send a tremendous amount of information out. Between our website, Nextdoor, the blast emails that go out from the office, the scoop. I don't know about everybody else. I don't read all that stuff. And I'm on the board. I think that it's probably the case with almost all of our residents, that they find it difficult to keep up with reading all of the stuff that goes out. I think there's more communication than most people realize.
Very good, thank you. Ron?
I think John's hit the nail on the head. You know, and this is not meant to be disrespectful to anybody, but residents don't read what's sent to them in many circumstances. And I'm not going to say everybody, but many residents don't read what's sent out to them. And the number of phone calls that I get with people asking me questions that they were sent out and notified a week ago or whatever. So people make assumptions that they haven't been told, whereas in reality they probably have and they missed it. And you know, we are dealing in a technological world, and sometimes emails get missed or lost or whatever. And so we can't be 100% certain that every single person who sent it gets the message. And maybe that one person didn't get the message and they're upset about it. But in reality, nothing happens. The law dictates that we have to tell the residents what goes on, and I believe that we do that. If somebody misses something, I can only apologize for the board and for the management company that they missed it. But that's usually what happens, is that somebody makes a complaint because they are unaware of what the reality is.
Very good. Tammy?
I still believe communication is the key. I think it has gotten better. The board has improved that. The property management has improved it. And I just want to encourage those that are available and can make the board workshops and the meetings. That is important information that you get firsthand. You don't get it from your neighbor. You don't get it 2 days later. You're there, you hear it, you know. They usually discuss it at a board workshop and it's voted on at the meeting. So, and then after that, they follow up with communication via email or the website.
Do any of you think it would be a reasonable idea to be able to have a new heading on our internet site? New things. People that don't want to spend the time to look up every email and read them. Would that be a possibility?
There actually is a place, excuse me coming in, but as I do the website, there is a place where it says that, but it's small on the opening page, and that could perhaps be made larger. The problem that we have is that when you contract with a website, the likes of which we have very little control over that, and it's not very easy to change things like that. But there are ways to do it, and it's something that could be done.
Maybe it's something that the board could think about.
Carol?
If I may suggest, I love Wayne to death, but I'm tired of looking at his picture on the cover. Do we need a letter from the president, or should we turn that into the highlights and changes we have gone through in the last 30 days?
I personally think that's a good idea. I also think that because we are very involved won't believe how much time the committee has spent picking out these questions. We didn't want those that would offend anybody. We just tried to pick out the ones that were most important to give the residents a good inkling about, no matter who gets on the board, you would have some thought about what they would be prioritizing. And I'm sure that there are plenty of people that never go into Southshore Falls website.
Carol, may
My
I?
neighbors rely on me to tell them what to talk about. John?
I was just going to say, I think one of the most efficient communication tools we have for residents is our blast email system. We get a report from Jason every week to the board on things that he's done for that week. That's not an appropriate thing to go out to all of the residents, because it's picayune in some cases, the things that they don't need. But if we were to take our blast email system and once a week do exactly what you just said, events, things that you should know about from this, that are happening this week or happened last week. This happened, and here's where you can read about it. This happened, and here's where you can read about it. I think it'd take one of the people in the office 20 minutes to put together, and I think it would be along the lines of your idea. I think it would be a dynamite idea, way to go.
I wonder if we were to ask all the residents how many saw the new communication from Corey and Jason. I'm going to take a guess and probably say not 50% read it.
I'm sure.
Those of us that are interested in this stuff, we check it. But other people could care less.
I've always said that I think half the people that live here just want to enjoy life here, drive in the gate, go to their house, do what they want to do. They don't want to be, bothered with running this community or helping it. And God bless them, they live here too. And I'm offended that you don't like my picture.
It's great,
I'll
but
get a better haircut.
like I said, can you wear a hat or something in
Yeah.
the next picture?
We should have Southshore Falls hats.
Okay. How do you plan on holding Castle accountable for upholding their contract? Let's start with John.
We do that on a daily basis. Jason is tired of hearing us hold him to his contract. We get involved probably more than any other board I've ever been on with exactly that topic. I served as president on a board in St. Petersburg when we first moved down here years ago. For 8 years I was the president. I spent less time with my property manager than in a week than Wayne spends in a day, because it wasn't a hands-on relationship. I was certainly in charge, but the property manager did what the property manager should do. We have taken a position to be a much more active board, and I agree with that 100%. That creates almost the answer to your question. We're constantly with Jason, Corey, and even the guys at the desk and in the office, constantly. I don't think a day goes by when there isn't 2 or 3 of us in the office at some point in time checking on something.
I know that, and I bet everybody in this room knows that. But I bet you the majority of people
Oh, I wouldn't be surprised.
that don't take advantage of coming to the pool or to the gym have no idea the time and effort you people put in, and that's sad. Rich, what do you say?
I say that you're making me answer questions that are using up my opening remarks, because this was, the format was changed, but I'll speak to it now. My thing about castle management, the point that I was going to make later, when I got to speak, there are residents that are concerned about castle. They're concerned about staff turnover. They're concerned about the availability and accessibility of our property manager. They're concerned about training and scheduling when staff is here. They have concerns. The board established a contract compliance and oversight committee. But to my knowledge, the castle contract, which is one of our larger contracts that we have, and we spend about $1.5 million a year with to Castle, we spend that much money, wouldn't it be prudent to review the contract so that we can make some adjustments and maybe some changes in some of the things that the community is upset over? That's
The
my
castle contract is up for review at the end of every year, and that's when the contract compliance committee, and it should be reviewed. The $500,000 that Rich, it's a lot of money. Most of that money is in salaries.
Correct.
That are paid for the manager and all the staff here. The actual castle contract is far less than that.
If I may, first of all, I'm not negating the time and hours the board puts into it, but I personally think it's a very sad state of affairs if the board has to run management. They're a company that is hired to do the job, to do it right, and if the board has to check on them, to me, they're not doing their job.
I think we have a problem with communication right there. I never said, and I didn't hear anybody else say, that we had to check on them. I said we worked with them to reach the goals that our community demands.
Okay.
That's an entirely different thing.
Okay.
We don't have to check on them at all. I think Jason would be much happier if we weren't in the offices that much, so he'd have time to get some more things done. But the bottom line is, even though Section 720 of the Florida law was set up, designed for exactly what you said, Joe, it was designed for a bunch of unpaid, untrained volunteers to hire a professional organization that runs the show. We've chosen over the years, not the 5 of us right now, but our predecessors chose to be more involved, and as a result, we save money because if you look at other communities our size with our amenities, we are among the lowest in assessments. Part of the reason for that is we don't have the same staff that a lot of other communities our size have. Okay, and the reason we don't have a lot of staff is because we have 5 other people that are willing to put the time in. If we want to spend more money to make sure that all of the stuff that the 5 of us do right now is done by Castle employees instead of us, that will take a big chunk out of our budget.
Thank you.
And for no reason.
Ron?
You know, a lot of things have been said about the management company. We as a board made a conscious decision that we were going to be proactive. And so because we were proactive, we as a board did many of the things that perhaps in other communities the management company takes care of. It would be very easy, and that may well happen in the future if the board that comes on decide that they don't want to be that way, that the management company take over and do everything. There's good news there and there's bad news there, and it may work and it may not work. You know, our staff turnover has been mentioned, and we've had an analysis done for us, and we fall right in the middle of where everybody else is with staff turnover. Most of the staff that we hire here are minimum wage employees, and minimum wage employees come and go as the wind blows. And so there's very little that we can do about that aspect of things. But we made, I emphasize, we made the decision as a board to be proactive and to be involved. I know lots of people who've served on boards who do nothing but attend a meeting once a week and put a rubber stamp on it, and that's all that they do. We're not like that.
Tammy, you have the last word.
When the renewal for a property management company came up 3.5 years ago, it was determined at that time that the Castle Group paid their employees better. They hired more qualified personnel, which would lead us into fewer turnovers. In my opinion, and many other residents that have shared their concerns with me about that, that has not been the case. And there's a lot of concern out there with Jason not being available any more than the 2 hours a day for 866 homes in here to either schedule an appointment or voice their opinion, have a conversation with him, address an issue. So I think that is a major concern within the community that they would like to see changed or addressed. And I think the board needs to be kind of attentive to, I mean, we hired them to help us take care of this property. So getting direction from the board is kind of the board's responsibility also.
Very good. You'll all be happy to hear. I think this is the last question.
No, Karen, I'm sorry to interrupt. I
Uh,
still have 2 introductions.
I was anxious, sorry.
Rich, could you please have your introduction?
Okay. Hello, Southshore Falls, wherever you are. You're out there, and some of you are in the community actively watching this. Some of you are going to watch us on tape delay. Some of you may have gone home, your snowbirds, and we await your the chance that you have opportunity for you to come back here with us. I hope that people had an opportunity to read my bio sheet. It's the same one that I submitted back in February, because I really haven't changed that much. The world has changed, and we have to deal with that. The reasons that I wanted to be a candidate and why I want a seat on this board, they haven't changed either. The COVID virus has no impact on my decision to run for the board. Back in March, I promised the people of Southshore Falls 3 things that I offered to them. I said that I would offer them a new set of eyes to see things in a different light. I offered them a new set of ears so that they can be assured that I would listen to each and every one if they have something to say. And I offered them a new voice that will speak up for all of the homeowners of our community. I thank the people who submitted the questions. If you have a question that was submitted and has not been posed today or won't be before we leave, please feel free to email me, telephone call me, stop me on the street. You'll probably see me wandering around as I do my daily jaunt throughout the community. I try to do 4 to 6 miles. I stop, I wave, I say hello, and sometimes I have conversations with people. And that is a very rewarding experience because I've gotten to learn to know the people of our community. I was going to talk about communications, but we seem to have rambled on and on about it. And I think we all are in somewhat of agreement that it is something that needs to be improved. And I'm all for it. In regards to our meetings, obviously, the virus has restricted what we can do. 30 seconds? Not fast, huh? Okay. I believe that we need to have some new blood on our board. We need some new ideas. We need some fresh ideas. I, for one, have been attending regularly all of our board meetings. And when a motion is made and a vote is called, I generally see all those in favor, aye, 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 aye. Never a disagreement, never dissension.
Thank you. Okay, now for the last question. Term limits, are you for them or against them? And let's start with Wayne.
Term limits in general, I think I've always been a champion of term limits, especially, on the congressional level. And I would not be opposed to term limits on the board level. However, that's an amendment question. That's in our documents, and I think if there was a groundswell of opinion to implement term limits, it should go to the residents for an amendment. It's a hard job to do, as we found out with the mail-in ballots. But we got that done because it had universal appeal.
Tammy?
Yes, I do.
Ron?
I have no problem with term limits. I'm a vice president of my bridge club. We have 2 terms of 3 years, and that's the maximum that we can serve, and that's a very reasonable way of doing things. I don't have a problem with it. Can we do it? That's entirely another question.
Joe?
I want to ask Wayne a question. I believe we already do have term limits. However, you can run again once your term is up. Is that correct, or am I incorrect?
You get appointed for, or elected for 2 years,
Right.
from one annual meeting to the subsequent after annual meeting. That's your term. So I think what they're talking about is, can you serve more than 1 or 2 or 3 of those terms? That could be limited by amendment vote.
Rich?
What I'd say on this is that we're electing board members, we're not electing Supreme Court justices or popes who have an expectancy of a lifetime term. That being said, it's up to the people really to decide. And if someone is doing a good job, I see no reason, if they have the support of the community, to ask them to step down. I think we do need to encourage more people to get involved by serving on the board, because at some point in time, these people who are on the board today, currently, may choose not to serve or may not be able to serve. So we need to develop, and I think that talent should also be developed in our committee systems. And in the same way, we need to encourage more people to serve on committees, to learn about how our community is run, so that when there is a need and there is a vacancy, that we have qualified people willing to step up.
John?
We already have term limits. It's called an annual election. And the people of this community determine who they want for board members, and if they want them for 25 years, so be it. If they don't want them for more than 2, so be it. I think we have to be very careful with comments like new blood, new changes, let's make things different. Change is only good if the change is good. When things are running well and the community is doing well, change isn't necessary. It's always important to update your priorities. It's always important to update your opinions and the way you look at things. But change for change's sake, to me, is not a political advantage to anyone.
Thank you.
Okay, Ron, could we please have your introduction?
Good afternoon, everyone, and thanks for taking the time to listen to us. This is not the first time that I've spoken at one of these events, and so I apologize to the newer residents who may not know me. Rather than blow my own horn, since I believe my reputation stands on its own given the performance of the board over the last 5 years, I would like to spend a minute or two talking about what makes a good board member. When I first joined the board back in 2015, the management company at the time sent me a booklet entitled The Board Member Toolkit from the Community Associations Institute. It's full of gems, but right at the beginning is one short section entitled Qualities of a Good Board Member. I would like to read what it says. A strong board member has good character, strong integrity, calm judgment, willingness to serve, committed to the best interests of the community as a whole, relevant experience or background, previous volunteer experience, strong people skills. An inappropriate board member is unable to put the welfare of the community first, works behind the board to run things his or her way, is impulsive or quick-tempered, has a personal or hidden agenda, puts individuals' interest first, has little or no experience in the management, leadership, or service, is unable to work with others for the common good, has poor interpersonal skills. Being a board member in a community like ours is very much equivalent to being a board member of a multi-million-dollar company. Thus, to be a good board member, it's important that you have the experience in managing a significant corporation or division of one in order to appreciate fully what it takes to manage a community of our size. Experience in working as a volunteer in a similar environment is invaluable, and anyone without such experience is likely to have difficulty adapting to the culture that is involved in volunteer work. As Wayne alluded to through knowledge, thorough knowledge and understanding of the governing documents in the Florida Statute 721 that governs HOAs is essential. So please, when you cast your vote, take careful note of all the qualifications that I've listed, as they will be extremely important to you and to the future of Southshore Falls as a whole. Read the resumes that have been circulated and judge for yourselves who would be best suited to manage the community for the next few years, and especially through the crisis that we are enduring at the present time. It has been a privilege for me to have served you for the last 5 years, and I look forward to serving you all for a further period through the annual meeting in 2022. I hope that we will all survive this pandemic and come through stronger at the other end. Thank you to the many residents who have given me and the rest of the board your support and continue to do so. Fortunately, there are more thank yous than complaints.
Thank you, Ron. I would just like to know, would like for the board and all the residents to know, we received more than 40 questions. We knew we couldn't ask all 6 of you 40 questions. So the election committee tried to boil them down to make it more interesting. Last year we did all your presentations first and then asked for questions. We try to prioritize the questions so that if they get tired of listening after 15 to 20 minutes, we've got the important stuff out to them. So I'd like to thank everybody, apologize to those that we didn't get to their questions, and now I think it's time for closing speeches, and they'll be done in reverse alpha order.
The progression of the COVID-19 virus to the level that it is at now has come about because too many selfish people appear to have ignored the recommendations of the experts and gone back to a more normal way of life, thus spreading the virus even faster around the rest of the community. Here in Southshore Falls, we have created a scenario that has provided relative safety and security for all. This has been done in spite of a few selfish naysayers who've spoken loudly on our website and next door, demanding access to everything at all times and chastising us for closing things down and depriving them of what they consider as their God-given right to open. Had we listened to them, the risks to everyone here would have been much greater. We need to monitor the situation and continue to adapt as the circumstances dictate. It requires a steady hand to do this the right way, and making wholesale changes to our board is not the right way to go at this time. I close by asking for your support to re-elect me and my fellow board members for another term. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Rich?
It has been said by some that regarding the COVID virus, we are all in the same boat. I must respectfully disagree with that statement. As I see it, we're actually in many small boats, and we're fighting to survive in a frightful storm. We are different in so many ways, yet we have so many important things in common. Hopefully, we all share a love of God, of family, and of our country. Hopefully, we are all committed to working together to ensure that our community continues to be a special place where we can enjoy the golden years of our retirement. I truly believe that there are no problems that are so insurmountable that we cannot work together to find a solution. In closing, I want to thank everyone for watching and listening. I want to thank the residents for taking the time to carefully consider which candidates are best prepared to lead our governing body. I trust that everyone will vote. They probably won't, but more than 2/3 of you voted for the amendment, so vote in this election. And when you cast your ballot, I hope that you will consider casting a vote in support of my candidacy. And since I have been asked by many in our community, who are you voting for other than yourself? I can tell you that I plan to vote for Tammy Bramall and Joe Leahy, the two candidates, along with myself, that I believe that are best prepared to lead our community. Thank you again. Please stay safe and healthy, and remember, wear your mask.
Thank you. Joe?
I do not have a prepared closing statement because I think one of the things that I have to do personally is first acknowledge the town board and then, for all the grief, anything can be fixed. As far as I'm concerned, what you saw with John and I is a perfect example of what a board should do. Disagree, challenge one another, and make things work. Finally, I'd simply like to say, as a new board member, I don't know what's going on, nor do the others. We are not close to the issues, and we obviously will need some kind of time to get on top of things. But I speak for myself when I tell you I will absolutely dedicate myself to the residents and to this community to do the job properly.
Thank you, Joe. Tammy?
I'm hopeful this meet and greet has been helpful to each of you so that you can make an informed decision about your upcoming board. I appreciate your consideration and look forward to working with you on many levels. As I mentioned, I have a plan, and that plan includes you, so that your voice is heard and that this community can become a better place for all of us to enjoy and share our retirement years. It takes a lot of perspective and working together to ensure our beautiful community is the best it can be. In closing, no matter who you vote for, I want to encourage each of you to attend your board workshop meetings and your board meetings so that your voice can be heard. I challenge you to let your voice be heard by voting for your next board of directors. Stay well, stay safe, and thank you so much for listening today.
Thank you. John?
Thanks, Carol. I just want to tell everybody who's listening how proud I am of the board that I've been so blessed to sit on. We took on a mission a few months ago that none of us could have been prepared for. I believe we have handled it superbly. Our goal was the health and safety of this community. Everything else was secondary. And a place that should have been ground zero for this virus has been completely free of this virus for the last few months. It's inevitable that we'll have it at some point, and we've done everything we can to minimize that when it happens. So I ask you to stay the course. No one changes generals in the middle of the war. And I'll say one last thing. As with any election, the promise that I can do better pales in comparison to the proof that I have done better. Thank you very much.
Thank you, John. Wayne?
Good afternoon. I hope everybody can hear this and that the streaming is going well. If not, I'm sure you can listen to it later, hopefully. I'd like to thank all you guys and girls, my fellow candidates. It's a wonderful group of people here, and for everybody to take the time to participate and put as much effort into it, it's great. The cooperation, compassion, and support from the residents has been overwhelming, and I am deeply moved by it. I did not envision having to make potentially life-altering decisions. In all honesty, the decision to run again was an exceedingly difficult one, but the COVID-19 resurgence is real and pressing and may soon demand immediate action. Action I'm ready to champion if necessary. At my age, there are other challenges to face, and there comes a day when the health and family considerations must take precedence, and I am ready to face those challenges as well. Change does not always come easy, but South Shore Falls will prosper if our leaders stay true to our governing documents, seek professional guidance when necessary, and always feel the weight of all the homeowners on their shoulders. Thanks to the adoption of Amendment 6, we are able to, for the first time, use mail-in ballots and keep our promise of rescheduling the March election despite the COVID-19 restrictions. In addition to everything else going on, the 2021 budget process begins next month. Another annual meeting and election will occur in the first quarter of 2021. South Shore Falls is a great, great community full of wonderful, caring, and considerate people. It is an honor to serve on the board of directors. Thank you all. Good afternoon.
Thank you. Thank you all. As the election committee chairperson, this is my time to put a plug in to vote. I've been asked by people why they didn't get a second envelope to put their ballot in. It was confusing to some people. What we did is we sent you one envelope to put the ballot in. Rest assured, it is a secret ballot. Nobody will open that envelope that has your ballot in it until such time as a meeting is called to order, and then we hope that we will have tabulators that will sign up at the front desk to help us count. We will check those people's names off as their envelopes come in. Those envelopes will not be opened until after the meeting is called to order. And when that happens, the ballot goes one way, the envelope goes another way, then we're gonna count the ballots in groups of 25, and people are gonna start to tabulate. This is the way I've been involved in running elections for 32 years. It's the way we've always done mail-in ballots. It is a secret vote. I hope that everybody will take advantage of not having to come to the meeting in order to not have to use a proxy, which we don't need anymore. Please, this was all done for the benefit of all the residents. Please vote. We don't care who you vote for, just vote. Thank you all very much.
Carol, thank you and your
Thank you,
committee for all
Carol.
the work you put in.
Thank you, Carol. Good job.
Thank you.
Are we off? Better be careful.
Turn.